Welcome to the first Average Tabletop Gamers Lockdown edition.
Yeah, lockdown with the tabletop gamers. Oh, I thought we'd started there. We have?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have.
I think
I was going to say we've already done one video since lockdown because if you remember, I spoke to Mr. Carl
Oh, you did,
Perriton
didn't you?
from
Yeah.
Crooked Dice about the 7TV Argonauts expansion, which I have obviously since backed. And I know Lee's already got a 7TV Argonauts cast, but Gary
I
has
can't.
also gone in to get a cast, so Gary's going to be getting some Argonauts. Obviously, Gary not here at the moment, but you know he will be soon. Not tonight, not in this episode, obviously, but in future ones if we do more of these. Because let's face it, we're going to be here for a while.
Yes.
Yes, we're not going to get political on the channel.
I
Not
wasn't
this
being
time.
political. Yeah, so obviously I spoke to Carl, which was quite nice, and it was good to basically interact with some of the small gaming businesses out there that are basically trying to get through this. Because obviously, as I was saying to Carl, it is we are traditionally into what would be convention season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
last weekend, of course, should have been Salute.
You were all planning to go. Well, were you all planning to go? Or was it just
So
I wasn't.
Yeah.
I had alternative plans. I was supposed to be running a LARP event.
And I was going to be going down, not with Gary. I was going to meet up with Gary down there because Gary was going with the crew from 2D20 Stroke Odd Shaped Dice podcast. But I was going to just
He's a real friend.
yeah, he's real. He's real
His other
imaginary
friend.
friends. So I was going to get the train down and just meet them there. And then my plan was to buy a load of stuff and put it in their car to bring back, so that I didn't have to try and get a ton of stuff on the train. But yeah, so
Was
obviously
that mainly because you didn't want to spend that long in a car with that lot?
no, it's because they have the right numbers to fit in the car, and they also decided that they would go and see. I think they were going to go down a couple of extra days and go to Nottingham to see Mal, who's one of the chaps that we used to work with when we were all working at Games Workshop, who still works for Workshop. They were going to go and see him and do some gaming with him for a couple of days.
Other games channels are available.
And crash at his, I think. And so obviously I didn't want to, just.
Yeah.
And I hadn't taken time off work or anything. I'd just basically taken the afternoon on the Friday with the idea of going down on the train on the Friday, coming back on the Saturday afternoon, which is fine. But yeah, so as I say, companies like Crooked Dice are still out there, and he's still trying to run his business from Crooked Towers. So he's still packaging stuff. He's still sending out orders, and he's obviously still making releases. And he had a bunch of stuff obviously lined up for Salute, so the big giant and stuff like that. So even though we're all locked down and we're looking for stuff to do, remember, just because Games Workshop aren't pumping out products right now, because Games Workshop, they've closed their distribution, haven't they, for now? If I'm right.
They've closed
Yeah,
their
most of the websites
stores.
is out of stock,
I think
so
they're
their
still doing
distribution
mail
may be
order, though.
stopped potentially because of the supply chain, or it could just be like you say they're not sending. They've got a particularly large warehouse, so they don't want to send people in.
I mean, it's not really essential, but yeah. So they're.
No.
But remember, there are other like smaller companies out there that could probably do with your hobby spends. There you go. That was
To
me
be
plug.
fair, I bought the Land Rover, the Highland Army Officer,
Big Tam Fraser.
the Kraken, Big Tam, yeah, which we'll see soon, and the Kraken, because I wanted something fun to do with resin yet again, and I've just finished those guys, so they're ready for the resin pour tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have them on our exclusive. We'll do a video, and then exclusivity to the Average Tabletop table site first, and then 7TV at the same time. So we'll have all them, but that sort of stuff is just so much fun to paint, and it's really high quality as well. So I mean, I love it because it's just a little go-to miniature you can pick up and just have fun and paint, not necessarily for a game, and just the range is quite amazing. So I've quite liked that stuff for a long time. Quite since you guys introduced us to them.
Well, it's actually since I spoke to Carl, I kind of bumped a lot of me painting stuff back in the queue a little bit, and I've been painting up some of my 7TV stuff. So I've painted up. I'm most of the way through painting up me the science division guys from Apocalypse. So they'll be finished soon. But yeah.
So I mean, obviously, it's fairly obvious from the screens that there's two of us are hard at keeping the hobbying going, and Ben is joining me in the not hobbying view.
Well, we're saying that, but if my glue's dried up, then I'm not going to be doing much more.
So have you all been have you been using have you had time in lockdown for painting, or have you been finding yourself cracking through?
Yeah, I've tried to do some like bits and bobs. I've tried to do a little bit every day. I thought it'd be nice to try and finish off Gotham.
Oh, okay,
Get that all sorted and ready. And so I did. I've done a few bits for it, but then kind of just as I think a lot of people at the moment do, it just kind of lost a little bit of impetus to get it done.
Yeah, that's been one of the things I've struggled, because we obviously had started a D&D game before this all happened, and been using D&D Beyond, which I think has been a cracking resource. I think we've all really enjoyed using that. It's great for the character sheets, and I've been talking about trying to get it up and going while we're all in lockdown, either over something like this or with some sort of virtual whiteboard, just something to keep us playing. But actually, it's not having time to do it, because I've got loads of time. What else am I doing with my time? But it's the motivation and keeping that up, and just finding excuses not to do it.
Yeah, so I think kind of painting is the one thing that's really fallen aside. I've done quite a lot. Like, when I think back on it now, I've done quite a lot, but I haven't like dedicated my time to do it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's been, I'll do like 2 hours one day, and then I won't do anything for a couple of days, and then I might do 6 or 7 hours for a day. But it's not sitting down religiously every day and going, right, I'm going to do 3-4 hours today, I'm going to do 3-4 hours tomorrow, etc., to try and get a project finished. And plus, again, thinking about it earlier, what have I done over the last, since lockdown began? And the list of things that I'm currently involved in, and I've been doing, is I can hardly believe I've actually got time to sit around and watch as much telly as I have done, because I perceive myself to have been so busy.
You always find time for TV.
Yeah, for those interested, I've power watched 8 seasons of NCIS since lockdown started. And I can't stop watching it until I get to the end. I'm nearly there. Oh, so give me such a good day. So kind of what have we been doing in lockdown to keep us, especially gaming wise and hobby wise? So let's start with D&D.
I guess just keeping the thought on the painting. Just 2 seconds, keeping the thought on the painting, just before we move off, because obviously Lee is hard at it there as we're talking. I mean, you've always been quite a prolific painter anyway, Lee. Has your painting gone up? Has it maintained?
I've got an extra hour and a half every day now on a work day, because my commute is about 4 foot from this desk to my settee, and possibly pausing to take my pants off and get a pair of pajamas on the way around. I've even planned my journey.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Too far.
I'm not going to go with the visual going. I mean, I need to get into my daytime pajamas. But so it's good because it helps me. This desk, unfortunately, is my gaming and painting desk, and it's also become my temporary office. Even to the point that I brought my name tag home, just so it's kind of one of those little reminders from my desk that I'm at work. But it's one of those ones where this has helped me to reinforce that this is actually a desk for my downtime, because I think I'd associate it with work a bit more and that focus. So yeah, the painting's been good because I'm not sitting at a keyboard, and it's the thing with me. I'm not the best painter, but I like to experiment with different things, like obviously the resin work, the different painting style. The contrast paints are a lot of fun, and it's sort of like, to me, I've got time now because I primarily paint now for fun and for kill team. They're the two main things I paint for.
Are you saying
and with
kill
the
team isn't fun?
Well, yeah. No, but because like, you know, like you only need one team for kill team, but everybody has 27. You get to go through lots of different painting styles. You think, well, I'm going to try this. I mean, the thing I've just been lulling over while we've been chatting is that I sprayed these guys up and painted these guys up in the Thousand Suns blue, which is the base coat. And then I read on one of the other painting articles for Thousand Suns that you spray them Retributor gold and then paint the blue on top. And I'm beginning to realise why you do that now. But I'm going to continue on because I'm doing nice thin coats, and
It does,
like
yeah,
I say, it's made an immediate effect. It's a good little start, and obviously I'll trim up later on and get the camera right.
it's weird. It doesn't make
They are
sense
lovely minis.
to go gold
Yeah.
first and then paint the blue over, because
Yeah.
everything that you taught for pound painting minis from a young age, you don't do it that way. But then when you actually think about the way the results are and the way that the miniatures are designed and what's supposed to be gold and what's supposed to be blue, it makes perfect sense to use a gold undercoat and then blue in the spaces, because you get a much cleaner finish on the trim than you would going the other way.
Is that why you do that? It's easier to fill in gaps than pick out high spots, or is it you get a better finish with the way the one paint goes on top of the other, or is it just about what's easier to paint first?
It's actually easier to paint the blue.
Yeah.
Than it is to paint the gold trim. So you see, the thing is, when you paint the gold trim, you will, because of the way you're painting, because obviously I'm using a thin coat. I mean, I was just about to say that one of the best tools to my painting arsenal in the last couple of years has been this. I absolutely love this stuff. Lamy and medium.
Can't see it. If you come away from the camera a little bit, Lee.
Medium.
There we go. That's probably as best as it's getting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, it's pigmentless paint, and it's brilliant for thinning down paint. Yeah. So what I've done is I've gone about not 50-50, about 75-25. So the paint that I've got on there, this metallic paint, isn't giving a thick coverage, but it's going on nice and thin, which means when I do a second pass with a smaller DL brush, it'll be, you know, easier to control. But I'm putting it down in bulk with a thicker brush, and then I'll trim up with the blue afterwards and then start the highlighting.
Nice.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and like I say, the other new thing that I'm really enjoying is the contrast paints.
We've spoken about them in the channel before, haven't we? I mean, they're getting a lot of positive vibes.
I mean,
they're
a bit weird at being pink marines, but this is a little test piece chapter I did.
You need to go a lot thicker with that. You need to put a lot more on.
Do you know, I actually quite enjoyed the way that it came out.
And the anemic angels.
Yeah.
There's last week, famous Duncan, X Games Workshop painter Duncan, on his new channel did a really good tips and tricks with contrast paints video, only about 15 minutes. And I've picked up a couple of things on it that I'm like, okay, yeah, that's better. That works now.
I've still not got around to using contrast.
Really helpful.
I keep meaning to, like I've got the Blood Bowl Lizardman team that Lee got me for Christmas, and I was thinking about getting some of the contrast paints for them, because I think that would be really nice to try and use those, because I think it'd be really nice on the lizard skin.
I'm trying to think what I did recently with green. It was the kilt, actually. The kilt on Big Rab was 3 coats of contrast paint. And it comes out, you know, but if you did 1 coat or 2 coats, that would come up quite nicely.
So here's something I've just discovered. Poly cement will melt a self-healing cutting mat. So be careful.
I saw you gesticulating wildly at something there during the filming. So Ben, what have you been up to?
Thanks for that learning. So painting wise, so I was trying to get the Gotham finished. So I've done probably 10 minis for that. that just need to finish the bases off, including Azrael. And I'm super pleased with how Azrael's come out. He's got a nice OSL fire effect on him. He looks the bomb. But probably the painting wise, the thing that I'm like really pleased with is I've finished 2 minis that have been sat on the table for ages. The first of the new Sisters of Battle range when she came out, and the Severina Rain Commissar mini.
Are they the two you've done in primarily white?
Yeah.
Oh, they're lovely. Yeah, they're lovely paint jobs. Really, really nice.
So we unboxed the Sister of Battle, didn't we, on the channel? So
we did.
If anybody wants to see that, you can go back and watch it.
I'm sure we could put a link somewhere to it or somehow. But yeah, so I got those finished, and I was invited to take part in a charity auction that's been organised by I can't remember the guy's name now, but it's a charity auction that's been organised by miniature painters and figure painters to raise money for the NHS charity, and it's an online auction that's going for another till the 17th of May. And I've got these 2 minis in there, and people have bid on them, and
nice.
Yeah, I mean not huge amounts, but there are some unbelievable things in there, and some of the people that are kind of coming out the woodwork to offer things on there are like wonderful, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm people are willing to pay money for these things. I then have since found out that one of the bids is from an old mate of mine from back down south. Has bid on it. If I'd known that, I'd have just painted him something. But but what I'd love to do is to put a link to that somewhere, or give me a minute. And in fact, let me. I'll just try and see if I can find the.
I mean, one of the things that completely surprised me about that one, Ben, because you invited me, and I'm following it as well. That there's actually somebody's put up their Golden Demon winning prize holder. I don't think it was the first place, but it's a Golden Demon awarded miniature, and the award with it came with. So that's a tremendous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Generous donation for auction.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna quickly give the link. So it's on 32auctions.com. So 32auctions.com. And the auction you want to look for is Figure Artists for the NHS. So follow that link. They're doing really, really well. So they set a £3,000 target, and already from bids there were over 4,000, and it only started on the 18th of April. So we're 3 days in, and they've already done £4,000.
And when did you say that's going on till?
That's till the 17th of May. And there are some beautiful, beautiful things on there. If you're interested in miniature art and miniature painting, there are now 91 lots on there. Some incredibly rare bits, some incredibly rare Games Workshop bits, as well as more independent companies as well. There's some really, really nice stuff on there. So, like I say, I'm really pleased that I was able to help and to support this charity drive. It's it's probably the one thing that I could certainly do minimum, and if I'm able to, if through me painting up a couple of little figures helps out, then brilliant. But there's some lovely things on there. There's a beautiful Magua from the Last of the Mohicans bust that's been painted up that is just gorgeous.
Some of those
there's
busts,
stuff that literally belongs in a museum. There's stuff that wouldn't go on award in an art museum, an art gallery, basically.
Some of those busts remind me of the kind of stuff an old mate of mine, so going back kind of 25 years, he used to really like getting and painting those kind of those busts of the historical, Native American war chiefs and stuff like that. And he was a phenomenal painter, and it seeing them made me think, people have had these in the cupboard for 20 odd years probably, because I don't think some of them aren't things which you can just go out and buy now. So it's a good chance to grab as you say, a rare piece of gaming or modelling history if that's your thing, and without essentially running into eBay scalper territory. So that's the thing, as you say, with those two minis you put up, where those minis are the kind of things where they go on eBay as soon as they're bought and go for silly money, and all you're doing is lining the pockets of a scalper or someone someone who's basically pushing the price of these kind of things up. Whereas at least this way you're going to help out a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you if you've missed out on the some of these miniatures, you've they're no longer produced. I know some of the Games Workshop stuff that's on the in that auction is no longer produced, so you can't get hold of it. But if you can, then you're going to get you are paying scalpers cash on eBay or other sites. This is a really good opportunity to have a look and see if there is some rarities that you might want for your army, or just to have in the house.
I'm on there now having a look.
There's some lovely stuff in there. So that's one of the things that I've done during lockdown. As I say, so with the weekend of Salute that was supposed to be going on last weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, this past weekend.
This
wasn't
past
it?
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, so I was supposed to be running a LARP event along with a couple of friends of mine for the faction I help run at Curious Pastimes. But obviously, that's not happened. But we spent a lot of time trying to work out what we could do to keep engagement and things like this during this period. So we are currently running a war game online, which is really, really interesting. Not something I've ever done before, to do it like a PBM style game. But
PBM, play by mail.
Play by mail, yeah, play by mail. So, I remember kind of when I started getting into the PBMs were really, really popular, really famous, really well advertised and stuff. White Dwarf was full of them. In fact, some friends of mine years and years ago used to run one called Nut Grabbers, where you would play a squirrel in an enchanted forest, and every turn you would write down what your squirrel was doing, and then you'd send it to them, and they would process it. And they did it, I think, for about 1 or 2 turns before realising it was far too much hard work to manually process this amount of orders effectively. And me and Andrew, who are effectively reffing this, we're processing all this amount of orders, but we're doing it on a weekly basis. But thankfully, not as many as could have been. I think we're only having to deal with like about 15 military units aside. So that's all we kind of have to deal with. But everyone, especially from one of the things that we were really invested in doing was to try and make it as fair as possible and not actually have us play the bad guys and run the bad guys during the battles.
Yeah.
Because that takes away a lot of impartiality. So we've got some friends of ours in the LARP community are playing this whole campaign as the bad guys, whereas all of the guys in the faction are playing as the good guys in their minds. So the bad guys don't know what the good guys are doing. The good guys don't know what the bad guys are doing. And me and Andrew, on a daily basis, are just laughing at what's happening.
So people are getting really engaged in it then?
Unbelievably so. So much engagement on a level that we didn't contemplate or consider would happen. So the first thing that happened was the players. One of the players set up a Roll20 using the battle map with movable icons for all of the units that we'd provided, so that they could actually do planning and things like this. Then did a copy to give to us refs so we could have it all available, so we could keep a track. Then the players have set up a Discord server where there is constant levels of chat going on. last week we ran an in-character tavern night on Discord. So a lot of people dressed up in their costumes, and we built a specific Discord server with different areas of the bar, and then there was entertainment. There was a singing competition and an insults competition and things like this, and that lasted, I think that went probably 8 or 9 hours, the whole thing. And when it's all kind of
We've lost
kicked
Stiff.
off, game started,
No, I think Ian's gone temporarily. Sorry, Ben.
That's right. When the actual
Carry
game
on.
started,
I was listening.
I know. Glad somebody was. Like the sound of my own voice. So when the actual game started, so we had 2 weeks of prep where they built up their forces and their plans and things like this. And then when the game started, the Discord server was changed to reflect all of this. We've got people writing short stories about their characters and how the war is going. We've got the characters within the player group recording videos of them delivering sermons or war speeches. The bad guys have done visions and given things like this, again, all over, all online. So the buy-in has been unbelievable and on a level that I never would have considered possible.
That's really good.
I think that's brilliant when you've got a group that can really enjoy themselves, because typically the way that we normally carry on, if we were doing Lord of the Rings, the first thing that you would look over the Games Master screen, Ben, and go, right guys, you find yourself in Rivendell, and Stephen steps up and goes, I killed Gandalf.
Yeah, but we're dealing with, on the good guys side, there were roughly 80 players that were engaged.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much having nightly phone calls and nightly video meetings between various different groups. So in the 2 weeks planning, there was a call every night at least one call every night between a group of players that was involved.
That's fantastic.
It was so rewarding. It's just when it gets through to a Saturday and me and Andrew spend time on the phone reading through the orders, going, this isn't going to go as well as people hoped. Yeah, so
I suppose that's the beauty of it, isn't it? When you're playing sort of without knowing what's going on the other side, it's like you walk into a room and you find yourself in front of 20 of the opposing faction, all standing merrily around sharpening their swords. Sort of.
It
If
takes away.
it were only that simple.
It takes away a lot of the out of game, interaction that inevitably will seep its way, even subconsciously, into any role play. Because you literally don't know.
Yeah.
But it's that classic thing as well, isn't it? It's like what they will eventually find out is your no best laid plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Oh no, absolutely. So the bad guys managed to get themselves into a position in their deployment for the war that the good guys thought was a really nice staging point to start from.
Right.
And so the first
How did
turn,
that
which was
match
all
go?
about movements and getting people onto the game boards and things like this. They're playing on a game board that's like 20,000. Probably like 800, more than 800, 2,000, probably best part of 2,500 by 2,500 miles. And they're working with military units that are moving across this game board, and they just happen to try and start at the same place as the bad guys, but the bad guys had already dug in at this point. And what was supposed to be a nice, we're going to start at this city and move off, turned into we're going to try and do this. But one of the things we tried to do is, because in the game world there's so much flavour and fluff, a lot of the units have been built with that in mind. So there's one of the units that worships a very chaotic war god, for want of a better term. Lots of bloodlust, quite zealous, very quick to fly off the handle. When they were their orders was to siege the town, to try and go through the front gates, but because of their fluff, when they saw an opposing military unit trying to do a flanking maneuver, they just ignored their orders and went straight after it because they were closer.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So it's thrown the battle plan completely off the nut, because the two sieging forces they had were two sets of light troops that were trying to attack this heavily defended city without their heavy troops. And now that particular heavy troop is now locked in a combat it can't get out of until one side is dead.
Nice.
Because the opposing force also has the same keyword rule that means they can't back down from a fight.
I think it's really encouraging. See, I've actually come on. I made. You'll have to trust me on this one. I made a really funny little anecdotal quip there, but I was on mute, so it got lost. But it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. But
I laughed. I laughed.
But I saw you react, and then I went, oh, he's just moved on past it. Or he's maybe seen me talking with the mute button on, and he's just thought, I'll just throw him a bone there.
Yeah. Thanks for doing me the favour there.
I mean, it's really, really good. I think these are difficult times, and actually finding things like that people are fully engaging with. I mean, I've not done a huge amount. I mean, I've kind of gone back into a computer game. I'm playing a lot of, and this isn't. We don't really do a lot of that on the channel, so I'm not going to drag us down into that. But it's more just talking about the things the companies are doing to support people. You know, like Warcraft are doing a big, like, it's double experience until we're all out of COVID. So it's like getting people back so they can get through the game quickly to the new stuff at the end if they're coming back or they're joining for the first time. And I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering, so it's a chance to play my favourite cards game. Keep going. Are you playing around with your positioning there, Ben? It's very distracting. So I think there's a lot of these companies are doing what they can to help people. You know, to I mean, obviously help people, give them their money, but you know, still actually give them access and give them something to keep them distracted at this time. I was just looking as we were talking there, Sven, at the Crooked Dice page and all the little bits and pieces, like for Salute, they were saying they were, you know, some of the first orders got free miniatures on the day, and they were doing just little bits and pieces to try and keep things going, which is great. But in terms of the hobby and kind of stuff that we've been doing, I think we've been doing a bit of, like, myself and Sven and some of our other friends have been doing a bit of online role play just via Zoom with a program called Arkenforge our DM's using, which has been a really good mapping tool.
And bear in mind, like, our DM, so our normal roleplay style thing, like, I mean, we don't roleplay with that group as often as we like, just because of the geographical nature of where everyone is, and you know, I mean, we went sometimes a year between sessions because at one point our DM, or ref as we refer to him, is you know, was living in the UAE. So we would go like a year between sessions, but when we would traditionally have sessions like that, we would, you know, go to a remote Scottish island for a week with no internet connection, barely any power, and nothing but grey seals for distraction, and just roleplay for a week solid. But he's very immersive in terms of the way he builds, not just the game itself, but like the environment. So, you know, he'll set the lighting, he'll set the music, the way that we represent. You know, we don't use minis that much, but we do use them for things like second party order, so he can look down quickly at a quick glance. And we normally have like a handful of minis just for if you do get to a bit of combat, to make it a bit easier. And so I think for us it was trying to find the right balance that would let us get the amount of out of game stuff he does, because one of the things he does for the game, rather than just using like, line drawings on a whiteboard, he will actually fully 3D render an entire city using the Unreal Engine, so we can actually walk around the city. And the thing is, we've had entire sessions where we've literally just walked around walked around a city, and you'll see one brick that looks a little bit different, and you'll be like, hold on, that brick's a bit different. And it's one of those things where it makes the playstyle different, because as a DM, he could have said, give us a search roll, you roll, I got a 12 or whatever, and then he goes, right, you notice an odd brick, at which point we're going to go, I'll go and investigate that brick. But because it was up to us as players to actually see what was on the screen and go, can we go and have a look at that? And so there was one of the campaigns we did where we were roaming this city, and we'd explored what we thought was every inch of this part of the city that we were in, and we finally kind of unlocked the city so that it was ours to roam around with as we please, and found out that there was one little bit that we'd all just walked past that was an opening to an entire second city underneath the map that he had built in 3D that we just didn't discover because we'd walked past this little doorway and not given it a moment's notice. But it's kind of, we've gone from these sessions where we have, we've got the luxury of, we'll sometimes roleplay for like 12, 15 hours at a time with like minimal breaks, to pack it all in and really get immersed in it, to trying to do that now disjointed, where, it's easier to get distracted by stuff or not be able to interact properly with people because actually you're doing it via Skype. And one of our players is in the arse end of Aberdeen, where his internet connection is terrible, and so there's often times where you get that his connection's dropped for a bit just as a bit of the plot's being explained. So we've been trying hard to work around, and obviously Ian has worked hard with him to rebuild our, because it's a house rule system that we use. So Ian's been obviously working to make the rules so they're actually a bit more online friendly.
Yeah, but it's been good, and I think the Arkenforge, I think the mapping system he's used is, I think it's fairly new, and it's designed to be used on a monitor upturned on your table. So you've got a map sitting down, and it's got, I mean, it's like probably things like roleplay. It's got fog of war and the works. It's been really, really good, and it's kept our hand in gaming. And we've kind of got a mixture of rolling dice ourselves at home, and we also use rolls.
Yeah, rolls, like ROLZ. It's like a dice rolling, like a dice room, like dice taverns.
Yeah. Which is all right as well. It's actually, because everyone's in it, it's a bit of it's just a random number generator doing it. But at the end of the day, doing it that way, I feel like I'm with the group rolling the dice. It's a stupid little.
I think so. What I've noticed, because I ran a one-shot game a couple of weeks ago, I had this crazy idea to do a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen style game.
Yeah.
But change the characters completely that were involved. In fact, it was the first part of 3 parts, all set in different eras. So the first one was a 1930s, and it was Inspector Lestrade, Fagin, Alice in Wonderland, and Phineas Fogg investigating the murder of Sherlock Holmes.
Nice.
And
I mean, I have to say, cliched or what?
I know, sorry.
That old trope.
Yeah, damn me for no original ideas. But so the way I did it here over Facebook Messenger, just using video, and relied on people to do the dice rolls themselves and just declare them. And again, I don't, I don't want to say that anyone fudged any dice rolls, but the success to failure ratio changed as the session went on. Where it started off really, because in a game system where it is effectively 50-50 success failure, where it started roughly 50-50, it rapidly approached probably 90-10 towards the end of the game.
And then you find yourself going, I can't call people out because the way randomness works, it could be utterly genuine. We've all had those sessions where nothing goes wrong.
Absolutely. And
But you're human. You're human for thinking that, Ben. There's nothing wrong thinking that this is better.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that's just kind of human nature to think that was possibly happening. And again, it was fun. It was exciting. It was tense. You know, Sherlock Holmes was killed on the Baskerville estate while he was investigating this massive dog down in Devon, and so they managed to solve that as well, because that was kind of tied into it. And I've got another one. So that was Victorian. Then there's one set. What was that? 19? No, so that was Victorian. There's the next one set in the 30s, and the one after that set in the 60s. Again, with completely different characters.
Have you decided who the protagonists will be?
I have. Because I didn't tell anybody what it was beforehand until they started playing, so they got them. But the next set of characters are definitely more cartoonish than literary.
So it's not like the 1930s. You're Roadrunner. You're Bugs Bunny.
No, it's not. It's not like Animaniacs or Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Or you could do an Animaniacs noir adventure.
That would be good.
Be cool.
Zoinks.
I think one of them is Popeye. So it was. I felt in the Victorian. So one of the players couldn't turn up in the end, and they were going to be playing Lord Greystoke. Or sorry, Earl Greystoke.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that was that mix, and I thought that's a really nice, sensible, well-rounded, well-thought-out group of characters. The 1930s game is
not so much.
Well-rounded, well-thought-out group of characters. Well, one of them is Popeye.
Nice.
And I'm also starting in a ongoing Vampire the Masquerade game this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Which
that's a game I've seen played online for a long time. So that seems to be fairly well established.
Yeah, I think it's one that really kind of suits that style of playing.
Yeah.
I think that the rule system and the fact that there's so much online support already for it as a game. That the GM is using Obsidian Portal for it, and that has editable character sheets already on there.
Yeah, we use Obsidian Portal. It's not perfect, but
no,
good.
But he uses it for the wiki side of things, for world building and world information.
Yeah.
So I still need to finish making a character for that. I'm 50-50 still on choices, but I'll get something.
Nice.
And
Well, maybe save that one for next time. We can actually see it. Well, that'll give us some material for the next.
Yeah. And I sorted out my role-playing books and put them all together, as opposed to strewn all over the house and stored up in my workroom. So they're now on one of the shelves in the study. And crap, I've got a lot of them.
Well,
yes.
That's what's kind of annoyed me slightly, is just before all of this kicked in, so around the start of the year, I did a bit of a swap around with one of our mates during one of our roleplay weekends, where we'd got to talking a while ago, and he just happened to mention he had this big stack of the original First Aid Deadlands books, which is a system I absolutely loved. And one of the biggest regrets is selling the entire set of books. And he mentioned he had them, and then I was like, okay. And then I mentioned the fact that I had this figure case, with like 15, 16 Lehman Russ tanks and 3 Bane Blades and a bunch of Valkyries and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, oh, we could do a trade here. So we ended up trading some bits and bobs. And I've got this stack of First Aid Deadlands books, and I've been wanting to run it for ages. It's just kind of, I think Deadlands is one of the ones where I think because you've got the hand of cards to use and stuff like that, it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I think it'd be better to do face to face. But I might actually read the books again and dust it off.
Incidentally, I don't know if you're aware or not, but Deadlands Weird West has just launched on Kickstarter today.
Ooh, what, a new version?
Really?
New edition. Using Savage Worlds, I believe it is.
See, I was always a fan of the original. I think it's because I had the original, and I think that it was just that weird nostalgia thing of like, it's the reason why I've been looking at Space Crusade and stuff like that on eBay recently. I think I'm going on a bit of a nostalgia trip.
Well, I've got an Advanced Hero Quest set you can have.
Ooh.
Do you know what the best thing about Hero Quest is?
Broadsword.
Broadsword. So is that stiff straight to Kickstarter there?
No. He's just looking at the reflection in his glasses.
No, it just wasn't that your hand disappeared and you weren't doing one thing, so you must have been typing.
Well, I can't do any more Kickstarters Royal because I've got the Crooked Dice Argonauts Kickstarter, which I went in at the all-in level, and I've added an extra 20 quid on because I want the giant robot that they did, which is like the proper, it's a lovely model. I wanted one of those as well, and that was one of the add-ons for 20 quid, so I thought I'll stick in for that, and I'll get a few casts there. And actually, just today, Carl put on through the page. They've got these Furies, these new sculpts of these Furies, which they're doing, and
sorry.
And
it's one of my favourite things is watching Stiff's face when he reads Kickstarter.
And
I'll be honest, I won't. But I'm looking at the deluxe dice tray and the deluxe dice set that comes with it. They're lovely.
Yeah, just back it. Think of all that petrol money you've saved.
That's all been spent on computer games.
So they've got some new sculpts as well for some new fembots, because the fembots they had were very much like the Austin Powers inspired Stroke Mars Attacks things, whereas they've done these new fembots which are a bit more like sci-fi-esque, which look nice. So there's going to be like some new sculpts for those coming out as well. So, and then also one that both me and Ian backed was the Marvel United. Was it Marvel United?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
From Simon Games. So we backed that like last month. So I've got that as well. So obviously I don't like to commit too much to Kickstarter at any one time because
that one was months away, though, wasn't it? The Marvel United. It was quite a way off.
But I've had it in the past where all of a sudden I get like 4 Kickstarters all drop in the mail at the same time, and I don't do anything with them. Hence the fact that just behind me on the shelf is Hellboy plus all of the expansions plus some. I even went in and bought some of the limited edition figures like Nimue and Krampus and stuff like that when they put them on, because I thought we might play it one day, and I'm sure we will.
We've played it.
Well, we might play it more than just playing the intro scenario a couple of times.
We might play it again.
But I mean, the thing is as well, because Hellboy is one of those games where if I'd actually bothered to do anything with it, paint it up or whatever, I could be playing it now because you can solo Hellboy.
I know.
But there we go. Such is life, as they say.
Yeah.
So
actually, I was thinking of playing some Siege of the Citadel on me Todd, because that's got that AI system, hasn't it, for the bad guys? Yeah.
Well, I picked up Blackstone Fortress, and again, you can solo that. It's just the fact that I haven't got anywhere near to even. I literally just took the cellophane off the box tonight, and it's been sitting there for a week and a half.
Is that what you're building at the moment? Is it Blackstone Fortress?
No, I'm building the. Well, I'm sitting here. I'm building the Manufacturum Imperialis.
Okay.
Scenery for thingy, which
big tiny robots.
Look at the little container units,
Nice.
Titan scale containers, and little oil
Awesome.
drums, little containers, Bowsers of whatever. And then I'm currently building, I think these are like the big towers for the crane units that you get.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, that's certainly something I'm looking forward to doing, and I think it's something that I've really missed a lot more than I thought I would, which is actually like group gaming. You know,
Yeah.
like a big war game. I know we've not played a big war, like bolt action for ages because it takes forever to do it at the points level we like playing. But I really have missed playing, 1,500 points, 4 players, massive table, full of too much terrain, it taking us 12 hours, invariably an argument.
To play 2 turns.
2 turns. I've genuinely missed that kind of interaction, so I think that's something that I'm definitely going to be pushing for when we've got, a modicum of life again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the last kind of big game that we played, or the last game that we played was probably Judge Dredd, wasn't it? And that was only big because we set up a full 6x4 table and then used like a section of it.
Yeah.
There was a good argument in that game as well.
That was a cracker, wasn't it?
That was a good argument. I mean, I was responsible.
We don't have to revisit it. We don't have to go over it again. Let's just
No, you're right.
accept
You're
what
right.
happened and
You're
move on.
right. You're right. I wasn't. Not one of my higher moments. Not one of my higher moments. Not going to be lied about, but
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 yeah,
it was a very enjoyable game that had a lot of flaws.
yes, yeah. I think that's certainly something that was kind of highlighted to me that like when we played, because like I remember when we were playing some of the other at the time smaller Warlord games. I remember when we started playing Test of Honor, for example, and how that was so good and so simple that when they've done that when Warlord have done these Rebellion publishing games, so Strontium Dog, Judge Dredd, etc., for them to have got it so wrong, in our opinion,
Yeah.
It's really interesting, and I know with like Test of Honor, the guys that wrote it originally is no longer with Warlord. It's been moved on, and I think Warlord have gone in a completely different direction with their rule sets. But yeah, to take something so brilliantly simple and lose that energy that Test of Honor has when you play it,
Yeah.
to get something. And Test of Honor has that similar mechanic of, your big characters get to go more than once, and your foot soldiers only get to go once. But it doesn't seem like such an absolute ball ache and belly on when those good characters get to go again for some reason.
I mean I think you might have actually hit the nail on the head there of how we could house rule it. Because part of the problem with the Judge Dredd was, the token goes back in, the token goes back in, the token goes back in. Whereas if you want the Test of Honor rule, which is, okay, normal people get 1 token, and special characters get, I don't know, if they're really special, they get 3. If they're a bit special, they get 2.
You just do you do it 1 token per 10 points of character, because then your basic footsoldier gets 1, and then anyone like Anderson or Dredd is going to get 2, potentially 3. Because you're paying more for them, so
that could work.
Is one option.
Yeah. I'm sure that there's got to be a way of doing it, and you know what? Somebody might have already had the idea, so it's probably worth having a look for it.
Because it's one of the nicest boards I think we've played on was that Dread board.
Yeah, it looked like, didn't it?
Yeah.
Thank
and that's not to take away from all our lovely bolt action boards, but there was something. It felt quite comic. It felt quite comic booky, and it felt the part.
I think it was also the fact that we had, and I'll because it's just here beside me. And again, I will be doing something with this probably for the channel, but we did have a 28mm scale 3D printed Land Raider and Killdozer.
Yes.
As set decoration, as it was. So I'll be doing some of that very soon. A video with that to because obviously that's a nice piece that I need to do something with.
Yeah.
Right, gents. Well, that's not been too bad a first attempt at this. It's actually just been good to sit and have a chat.
Just chew some
It's
fat.
nice being in your company, to be quite honest.
I was going to say, Lee, you've been quite quiet, but you're certainly smashing through the painting there. I have been watching you as you've been going, and
It's a strange situation, isn't it? You sitting in a room with me hardly saying anything.
I know.
Yeah, it's basically it's a pacifier for Lee, really, isn't it?
It's also I would not have undercoated one miniature in the time it has taken you to get.
You couldn't undercoat one miniature.
So that's what we've done today.
Yeah,
So
they are
the
lovely minis. I love the rubrics.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. They're beautiful miniatures. I can't wait to get them on the kill team board.
Been painting them gold.
Yeah. So the thing is, I mean, I got the elites thing, so I'll be definitely using Terminators and kill team, and can't wait to get these guys into the game.
Oh, you're such a Henry
They're
Cavill.
sparring buddies as well, because I've got space puppies, space wolves for the non. Yeah. So of course these lads, they're like a bit of a Barney, the old space wolves and Thousand Suns. Something about Prospero or something like that. I don't know. Took it far too seriously.
The whole scourging of a world will tend to do that.
Well,
So has anyone got anything in kind of coming up over the next? Because there's a vague chance we'll do D&D next week. I say vague.
I will, as I have for the last 4 weeks, say I'll try and have something prepped for next week.
And then what he'll actually have prepped will be you'll have leveled up some World of Warcraft characters.
I will have. Yeah, I absolutely will have. That's a guaranteed.
Yeah. So if irrespective of that, if whether D&D is coming up for us, has anyone got any kind of gaming stuff that they're going to be doing over the next week to 2 weeks before we get to do this again?
As I was going to say, chaps, I received a present from my father a little early because of the lockdown. It had to be sent to my house, and I'm going to be opening it on my birthday, which is next Monday.
Oh.
I win. My birthday on Thursday.
I can't wait
happy
till
birthday
sitting
for
on the
both.
tail. Oh, is it next Thursday, Ben?
No, this Thursday.
This Thursday, mate. Many happy returns for Thursday.
Yeah, St George's Day.
Oh, bless. So yeah, but one of the things is I ordered, or rather had received, because of the situation with bans and all that, a copy of Ravensburger's Jaws. So I can't wait till we're all sitting around the table and going.
We're going to
Cage
need a
goes
bigger
tomorrow.
roleplay table.
We'll be comparing
Cage goes tomorrow.
scars. We'll be
You're
like
going
that.
Cage.
See this scar here?
Sure.
D20, bad bounce off the table. See this scar here? Scalpel.
So essentially, can't wait to play that with you guys. Other than that, the only thing is I brought these up because I found these in the shed and I forgot I brought them, and I don't know what to do with them. So
What scale are they?
The 176. It's the Airfix soldier flies. They're technically the right size for a model railway.
Or
Still
Gaslands.
the kill team out them?
Or do a diorama, a James Bond diorama
There's an idea.
involving a space station and some orchid launching tubes.
Just do a mock-up, and so you two can fake it just like NASA did in the 60s.
Yeah.
Just to anybody's listening, I believe that it really did happen, and I'm not one of these conspiracy nutters.
Correct. Good. So I might have, because I've just seen on Warhammer Community that Warhammer Underworlds Online is now out on Steam, and Steam are doing a 20% off sale for it, and it looks like it's multiplayer.
What game is that, Stiff? What's it like?
That's,
So we're not doing D&D next week then?
no, we will get still do D&D. It's the one we've got it, Lee. It's the one where you have the it's kind of the one where you play on the board with the cards.
Shadespire and that.
Shadespire, Warhammer Underworlds.
Oh,
So
yes,
Shadespire was
yes,
the first
yes.
season of it, yeah.
So it's not a first person game.
No, it literally looks like it's played as a board game.
Okay.
Effectively, it looks like classic battle chess, for want of a better description, as in you do
Ooh.
all the things you would in the game, but it represents it on the screen. There's the word. I couldn't find the word screen. I think
Magic
COVID has
movie
finally
page.
got the better of me. Yeah. So I might check out that as a potential something for people with computers who liked that game in the first place. It might be an option for us to play something.
Yeah, I mean, I could be interested. I'll have to have a look myself.
And I will also check up and plan to do some D&D next week.
But
I
now
might plan.
that I've started these, I'm going to crack on and because I've got another set of these Manufactorum Imperialis setups done. So and they're going together really nice actually. They're real nice little bits of kit, and I'm looking forward to getting these built and painted up so we've got a bit more Titan scenery for when we can get together and have a game of Titan Adeptus Titanicus, because I know that Gary has been painting all of his knights and his reavers, and for some reason he's chosen this kind of brilliant white paint scheme for his household and his legion colours, which is I think he's regretting slightly with how bright he's gone with the white.
Yeah, you asked on was it Facebook earlier how to do about it, and I've been having to think, and I just can't. The only thing I could possibly, or I thought might work, would be to do an overcoat of the white contrast paint.
Yeah.
Just to dull it slightly, but try and keep a bit of that brilliance. But yeah, I couldn't think of anything else. But I think they look really, really nice. They're just, as you say, they're a little bit pow with how fresh they look. Yeah, it's like he's painted them with toothpaste almost. Is how bright they are.
And Gary, if you're listening to this, we're not criticising your work, mate.
No,
No,
I
not at all, not in the
mean,
slightest.
his knights are beautiful, and actually, that white he's got is a hard white to try and paint, and I get what he means. It needs weathering
it's
down
lovely.
a bit.
Yeah, he's managed. Yeah, the actual colour he's managed to achieve, that white is phenomenal.
From someone who tried to paint a 3,000 point Mentor Legion army like 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh
White is no fun.
no.
I used to have a white consoles army many years ago, and essentially there's only so many cans of white undercoat you can buy, and not disappointed with the results.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna try and I had that which I've had for ages, the airfield set from JB Gaming.
Yeah.
Our mate Banks,
yeah.
which I built. I mostly got it right, but there's never any instructions, and there's one or two walls were put on back to front, which meant one or two doors have had to be adjusted. Other than that, though, it looks the business. Actually, it's a really nice set, really well put together, like design wise. I have built it brilliantly, but it's designed really nicely. So I'm going to try and get that painted up so they can go into the boxes of MDF kit that I've got. Try and do some more on the Gotham stuff, possibly. Who knows? Got loads more LARP war game to run this coming weekend, and role playing this weekend, and try and squeeze in a mad birthday party for one on Thursday.
Will you enjoy yourself, mate?
Yeah. I'm going to. I'm going to order a pizza and maybe I don't know what we'll do. We'll do something.
Oh,
Well, yeah. So that's basically it. Is just carrying on, doing lots and lots of these online calls with nerds over the next few days.
Well, I think this has been, regardless of what we're doing, and this has actually been really good tonight, just using the podcast as an excuse to chat and have a proper catch up.
Yeah.
It's been good doing this at least once a week.
Yeah.
I'm quite
Very
proud of
nice,
my
mate.
achievements tonight.
Very nice.
Good work, Lee.
Thank you very much. It's that the art. I mean, I must admit that is just awesome. Just that cannon there. Just that lad means business. I mean, he's even got a sword in the other hand.
I need a
Awesomely
big
out of
gun,
focus.
holds lots of bullets.
They are love. I love those miniatures. I have always liked the Rubric Marines.
Yeah. Aye. So we'll get together again in a week. We'll do something. It might be another one of these. Depending on what format we put this out in, we might put links to things we've discussed in places. So if this ends up on YouTube, we'll put links to the auction and things like this. We'll even put our own channel links across here. And if we put it out as a podcast,
wherever the links go, we'll put some stuff
that's
somewhere.
technical stuff.
We will figure something out.
Yeah. So I think that's us, isn't it?
I mean, if you've got this far through, well done.
Yeah. That's how I'm feeling anyway.
Yeah. No, there's a reason we normally only do these for 20 minutes at a time. Right, okay. I suppose that's time to sign off then, isn't it? So, I was Ben.
I was Ian.
I was Sven.
I'm also here as Lee.
And those were Lee's disembodied hands.
Hang on, 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Go on.
Hello. Oh,
God.
I've just hurt myself, lads.
Yeah, don't slip anything. So that was the Average Tabletop Gamers second lockdown.
Well, it's the first lockdown
thing.
podcast episode.
Yes.
Stream, cast,
Episode.
paint cast.
Webcast.
Lockdowncast.
Whatever it was, we're in lockdown and you've been brilliant. Bye.